My name is Malchus. I have been asked to give my recollections about those nights, those terrible nights. I served an unapproachable God. Well, I served a priest who served an unapproachable God. We had been hearing stories about Jesus circulating for some time, about the wonderful things he was doing out in the countryside. The high priest could talk almost of nothing else except that. During the weeks leading up to that night, I'll always think of it from now on as that night. We followed Judas into the garden because Judas knew exactly where Jesus would be. There were others scattered about. It looked like they were sleeping. I couldn't tell how many there were. And Judas went up to Jesus and kissed him on the cheek. It seemed like an odd thing to do. I was close enough that I heard Jesus call him friend. And that's the last thing I heard. I saw a flash of a blade and felt a gush of blood running down my cheek, and this excruciating pain drove me to my knees. And Jesus reached out and touched me. I had heard about his touch, that he could touch people with dirt or with spit. But he reached out and he just touched me, and it wasn't his touch that counted, it was his eyes. I looked into his eyes and they were full of compassion and grief and joy. And the next moment I know, my ear was fine. Well, they took him away and they tried him that night. The trial was a mockery. They kept bringing up crazy accusations against him, and he just stood there. He didn't do anything. He didn't say anything. He was so, compassionate. Here they were making up these charges to condemn him, and he was feeling sorry for us. Well, the sentencing took place, and the business with Pilate, and then the crucifixion. There's no denying what happened. The darkness, the earthquake, the rending of the veil in the temple. I was in the temple when that veil tore in two. The sound was louder than anything I'd ever heard in my life. It almost knocked me off my feet. But even I could realize that the torn veil meant something, that God was inviting us in, that he was no longer unapproachable. God was on the move.